Hey, I'm Charlotte Lawson. I graduated from Penn in 2009 and ran track and field for 4 years and cross country as well. And just here to speak a little bit about my experience as an ally, especially at Penn and in athletics. So I went to high school in Washington, D.C. It was a kind of interesting high school. It was this little private school that had a really liberal faculty, but this like uber conservative parent body. And we had a lot of gay and lesbian administrators and a lot of homophobic parents. You kind of had to pick, not so much on the gay issue, but kind of on the liberal versus conservative issue at a young age, and it ended up being like teachers versus parents in a weird unspoken way. And I decided to go with teachers. I had a really supportive family. They are, gasp, Republican. But, whatever I wanted to believe and, go for, like, that's what they were cool with. And definitely a family of, like, just back up what you say and you can say whatever you want. And I never felt like they were particularly homophobic, so I should just say that in defense of mom and dad. But anyway, so the point is I grew up feeling like I'm a tolerant person. I, have no problems with the gay community. I don't really have any gay friends, but I felt like that was definitely a part of my identity, was this, I'm an accepting person shtick. And so anyway, got to Penn, had a good first year. Still didn't have any gay friends, but something pretty cool happened for me when I was a sophomore. Long story short, developed a really close friendship pretty early with an oncoming freshman who, really took a risk with me and came out pretty early in September. Before coming out to the rest of the team, and this made me feel like really, really special. I felt like, wow, this is such a validation of like who I want to be and supportive person and friend that I'm trying to embody. And so when she asked me to go have brunch with her and her new girlfriend, who was a junior on the softball team, I felt like, yeah, definitely, of course, no hesitation about that. So we get to brunch and it's cool. This girl's really nice. I feel good to meet her. And again, like feeling positive about being included. But as we're at the dining hall, I notice that there's this thing in me that's starting to feel uncomfortable as they're holding hands or, being openly affectionate with each other. And it really bothered me. It really bothered me. I went home and thought about it and, wondered like where was that coming from? This is not who I am. I'm not someone who, is bothered by the gay community, and I wasn't afraid. I didn't think of being labeled, gay or lesbian, whether I was or wasn't. And I decided, I guess, that anytime you're in a situation where you're aware of eyes on you, it can be uncomfortable. And just like anything, I guess, it takes some getting used to and some habituation and I guess some self-reflection and, whatever. Went on through college and kind of got over it. I mean, in a big way. Joined PATH, that's Penn Athletes Tackling Homophobia, which this very good friend of mine happened to run. Sold tickets on the walk for registration, was thought to be a lesbian a couple of times doing that. Put PATH on my med school application, was interviewed about it. Don't know if my interviewer thought I was gay or straight. And suffice it to say, became very comfortable with my identity as an ally. But I guess what I realized you know, through the whole process, with my involvement, you know, at Penn and with Path, was that if it was that striking to me as someone who had made it their identity from a pretty early age to be non-homophobic and, you know, very LGBT friendly, and that was something I was proud of before I even had any close LGBT friends, I guess I realized how hard it might be for someone who had no familiarity or who was coming at the LGBT community with no background, maybe even a background of homophobia, how hard it would be for them to, you know, tiptoe in, integrate themselves, and how hard it might be if they had a friend who then later came out to them to reconcile those two backgrounds, because it was pretty admittedly difficult for me internally to recognize that there were suddenly like eyes on me when I went to the LGBT center, or when I, you know, sold tickets to a Path event, you know, on the walk. And like I said, I'm coming from a background of like tons of support and an identity of as an ally. So I guess all that is to say that it's really important for allies to reach out to other allies, or potential allies, people who, you know, want to be included but don't know how, you know, aren't sure how to be comfortable. And it's important for the LGBT community to recognize, you know, that that initial discomfort isn't a sign of homophobia per se in a person who, you know, is a good friend and does want to be supportive. That, you know, sometimes that person just is trying to find their way too. And if you happen to be the more confident person in that situation, even if they're your ally and they're supposed to be your support in an overall homophobic world, when they go to your event, they're the minority. And so in order to have them as an ally in the big world, they might need you as an ally in the smaller LGBT event world. So, you know, I guess those are my big thoughts. But yeah, it's been a positive experience, and I'd be happy to be your ally anytime.